Every time you see that somebody died, say you see a 10-year-old died in a car crash or a 9-year-old girl fell off the 10th story balcony, you shouldn't really see it as a tragedy because you have no idea what sort of horrors and harms awaited that person. There's a lot of horror and harm in life. There's a lot of experience of suffering, and by dying, you avoid them. I'm a pro-mortalist. As a pro-mortalist, I think if everybody offed themselves, everybody would be better off. There would be no more suffering. There would be no more, that's the optimal way to get rid of suffering. I don't see deaths as tragedies. I look at the side of, this child avoided so much unnecessary harm.
I just want people to question the overall disappointment with death. You are definitely missing out on many, many horrors.
Promortalism, the philosophical definition, states that it's good for those who die, but not necessarily for those who are affected by the death. Is any life worth living after birth? And that can easily be tied back into the net suffering equation. Suffering enacted and reduced by imposition against free will, versus suffering reduced and endured in respect to free will. So this has to do with the consent argument and the net amount of suffering that will exist if we do or do not respect the free will of others. Freedom to kill animals in society, farming versus hunting, instantaneous death versus prolonged, miserable death in the wild, humans seen as animals.
The glorious final product of a shitty life. Death. Death. Being in the grave. No longer feeling all of these sensitivities. No longer feeling with my mind all of the pain and suffering that is going on in other creatures. Death. Death is not bad. Death is glorious. Death is wonderful. Death is great.
David Benatar makes a distinction between whether life is worth starting and whether life is worth continuing. Once someone has already been created, he or she may have a vested interest in continuing to exist, even though it would have been better if the person was never created in the first place. I don't necessarily agree with Benatar's continuing to exist argument. Rather than saying something I don't believe, I am just not going to address it at all until I am able to say what I actually believe.
I would be passing out suicide like candy on Halloween if I could. We live in a disgusting world where all we want is out.